Hey everybody, welcome back. And today we're talking Harambe. If you don't know me, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Eric Crown, the director of the Harambe documentary, one of many people on a very large team that has made this project possible. And we're very excited because we're going to be releasing this year World Gorilla Day. We've been working on the movie for 2 years. We're very excited. We're going to bring the full story of Harambe, but also the potentials for the future and some of the problems with the past that we need to confront and challenge in order to help really save gorillas, and especially Western lowland gorillas, which are now critically endangered. So today we have a very exciting guest. I don't want to wait too long to bring him on. He is the man, and everybody already knows the name Harambe, but the reason you know the name Harambe is because our guest, Dan Van Coppenolle, gave him that name. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
No, thanks for inviting me.
Hey man, so to start with, I'd love to know the origin of how did you come up with the name Harambe?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Back in '99, I was working as a special ed counselor, and every morning I get up and go exercise on the treadmill. And I like to listen to music, and I listen to reggae music. And there was a particular song called Harambe by Rita Marley. I think it was like live in Central Park or something. But anyways, I was really getting into the song, and then about halfway through the song, she stopped and said what the word Harambe means. It's a Swahili word, like from South Africa or something, that means working together, caring and sharing. Pulling together and working together. So I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So I thought, wow, yeah, I could probably use that in my job as a counselor because we work on a lot of character development and things like that. So anyways, when I'm done working out, I sit down and I was drinking my green tea or coffee. I don't remember. I flip back and forth. But and I was reading the Brownsville Herald, the morning paper, and right on the headlines, it says, name the baby gorilla. And it just popped in my head, Harambe. And I'm like, that just sounds like a perfect name. African lowland gorilla, a Swahili name. I like the meaning of it. So I impulsively, like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning before I go to work, I got on the internet and kind of Googled it. And I printed up something with some pretty graphics. And that same day, I was going to be at the zoo for some training for the counselors. And so I took it along and dropped it off. And I pretty much knew that it was perfect. I knew I was going to get picked, and it was just serendipity, I guess. I don't know. It just kind of came about that way. And sure enough, I found out like maybe a week or two later that my name Harambe was picked. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
Beautiful. That is great. That is great. And by the way, that is a great song too, Harambe. If you guys have not heard the Harambe song, Google it, Harambe, Rita Marley. It's really a beautiful, beautiful song. It's really great to know that, from that beautiful music came this inspiration that changed the world. Like this is, you were part of bringing this name that has such a powerful meaning of unity, coming together, working for the community, being selfless, we're working together. And to bring that out into now what is a household name. Do you ever, how do you feel about that sort of being tied to, for sure the most famous gorilla in the world, but also one of the most famous memes, one of the most famous internet kind of characters?
In some ways it's kind of exciting. It's kind of cool, I know my nephews and my kids kind of think it's cool, but in some ways, it's kind of bittersweet because, nobody really knew the name until he got killed. So, and then social media took off and the news, and all of a sudden, everybody knew the name of Harambe, not just me, my family, and my students, So that's the thing, and I see it all the time. I got young people that are sending me messages. Hey, they just mentioned you on whatever. You can go to Wikipedia. I pop up. It's like
So Dan, what now? You know, the whole phenomenon happened afterwards. I know you wrote, I believe you wrote an op-ed for CNN.
Yes.
Why do you think the Harambe phenomenon took off the way it did? What did you think about how that all went down?
I don't know. I find it hard to fathom how it really blew up the way it did. But then I try to look at the time, you know, back in '99 when I named Harambe, I don't even know if I had a cell phone back then, let alone many digital cameras, you know. So there was no social media or anything like that. So, you know, if it came out on the local news, that would be the only way anybody even knew about that little baby gorilla. But when Harambe got shot and died, you know, my nephew texted me like in the middle of the night. They were on social media. They kept up with everything. And they're like, hey, Tio Dan, Harambe was killed, you know. And I'm like, what? I was totally in shock. And then, you know, looking at the news reports and just seeing how it blew up like it did, I felt like things were already kind of blown up in society where, you know, people are very tribal and they take one side or the other, and they don't really have an open mind or an open heart. They just kind of go with their allegiance. And so when they see a problem, like, you know, the death of a gorilla in captivity, there's all this outrage, you know, against the parents, against the zoo, you know, it just was back and forth. And, you know, it was a political year too, 2016 elections, and our nation was already kind of divided. So Harambe kind of took some of the attention off of that, I think, on the media. And but that's what prompted me to write the op-ed, because I realized how divided we are. And if you really look at the name Harambe, you know, working together, pulling together, caring and sharing, helping one another, you know, and that was the whole message to my students over all these years, whether I was a teacher or a counselor. I would harp on that, you know, through teamwork and cooperation, you can get things done a lot quicker, and you have more fun at doing it, you know, whether you're cooperating with your parents doing your chores, or you're doing your civic duty by going out and voting. You know, it's all the same, you know, that we all have these responsibilities. But when Harambe happened, the fingers came out and pointing. And that kind of like, I just felt like I had to speak out. And, you know, all the news media, I'm telling you, I went back and looked through my Facebook Messenger, Scotland, you know, Germany, Japan, all these England ones, you know, they were trying to get an interview with me and all of that. And I'm just like, I was like, no, I just was freaked out, you know. And you know, this nice guy up from CNN kind of said, you know, well, why don't you write an op-ed and then we'll do an interview, you know, and really, you know, put it to words first, you know. So, and then when I looked at the name Harambe, it just made sense, you know. And so when Harambe was killed, I had so many things going through my mind. And, you know, I even had some disagreements with my nephews, younger people, older people. Everybody seemed to see things from a different angle. And I realized how much of what we experience in life is perceptual and based on experience, and how we harden these shells. You know, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, you know, or I'm an American, and it's hard just to be open, you know, and kind of work together. And I do think, you know, hopefully your movie can bring that message together, because the gorillas are in turmoil right now, and all the bickering and finger pointing and blaming the different sides, when I think it's a cause that everybody could rally behind, you know, like for Harambe. I don't see anybody other than maybe poachers that want to see gorillas dead. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's actually that, and that is the thing, is that they really need us. They are critically endangered. We're losing them year by year. And, it's interesting because I wanted to ask you about, for people that aren't aware, Harambe was born in Texas, although he unfortunately had his ending in Ohio, because a lot of times gorillas will be moved around and they're sent around. But one of the big problems is they're never sent back out into nature. So as we're losing them in the wild, we're still keeping them here. And we're going to get into the movie. We really get into some of the different aspects about breeding and how that works. Was the zoo where Harambe was born, the Gladys Porter Zoo, was that a breeding zoo?
Well, apparently it was. I do know that is a specialty. The Gladys Porter Zoo is like the most beautiful zoo I've ever been to. It's a small zoo. It's there's no bars. It's kind of a really good environment, but they do have a lot of baby animals born there. And so they frequently have contests, to name the baby animals. Now it's more like an auction. The highest bidder gets to name the baby animal. With me, I didn't win a prize or anything like that. It just, so I think they learned a lesson with the Harambe name. So, but yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I just figured Harambe was going to grow up there, and me and my family and students, he was always there. Every year we'd go to the zoo on field trips. Our relatives would come into town. Let's go to the zoo. And everybody wanted to see Harambe, and he knew his name. We'd call out his name, and he would respond. And I just had no inkling that someday he would not be there anymore. And so for a long time, that really bothered me. And I really didn't know why he was sent away until I read an article about it. And I actually even talked with the curator at the zoo that runs things. And he pretty much said that he had already reached his maximum potential for breeding or something like that. And, I'm like, I just couldn't imagine baby Harambe in diapers, sold out for stud service. So, but I don't know if that's, just what they do. The animals come and go to the zoo. And so it was sad to see him go. I know my brother-in-law, every year they have this thing called Zoofari, a fundraiser. And I know it's very expensive. It's very expensive to raise these animals, even in captivity. And so they have a fundraiser every year, wine and cheese kind of soiree kind of thing. I'd never been to it, but my brother-in-law went, and they had a bidding war. Harambe apparently made a finger painting. And so my brother-in-law was the highest bidder. He spent a fortune, on that to get that painting. And I was at a reggae concert, and he's texting me, "Look, the bid's all the way up to here," but he did get it. And sadly, somebody broke into his office and stole it, or I don't know where it is to this day. But anyways, shortly after that, that's when Harambe was moved. So, they raised a lot of money at the zoo. Yeah, I know it takes money to feed gorillas and things like that, but in some ways, I think the zoos maybe exploit, especially the animals that have a name. It's like saying we got a finger painting from a gorilla, now we got one from Harambe. Whereas now, I see, since his death, I see other people, social media and marketing. You can go onto these online stores, just even Amazon, type in Harambe, type in Mercari or Poshmark, and you can find 1 million Harambe Christmas sweaters, mouse pads, you name it. And somebody's making money off of his name, but it's not going back to Africa. It's not going to help save, the three rangers that were just murdered over there, that nobody knows about, because, we don't play that news here. We play all the pop culture, social media, Harambe, rest in peace stuff, but a lot of people are making lots of money off of it. And it's, to me, maybe the zoos do it too, but it's both sides. And I don't want to finger point, but I'm like, golly, maybe we can market Harambe's name for a greater good, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yes. And, that's, and Harambe, when you say it out loud, like I said, it means unity. It's such a positive energy. And it's interesting because it comes from reggae, and, the Rastafarians believe in word, sound, and power, right? You say the word, you conceive it, you say it, and it is birthed into the universe as a force. So you have to be very conscious of how you speak, so that you're not throwing out negativity, and you're not throwing out things that are going to bring the world down. So yeah, the Rastas are heavy into it. And so, they already started it as knowing it's a power word. And you've brought that to the rest of us and brought that name into our lives and brought that concept into our lives. How do you think Harambe's spirit and memory can help gorillas where they are now, to try to improve their future?
My hope, since this kind of reemerged, it went through several phases. I named the baby gorilla. There was a lot of excitement about that. And then pretty much everybody forgot about him. And yeah, we would go to the zoo and see him once or twice a year. But, even me, it was, okay, there's a gorilla at the zoo that I named. And then when he got moved, I was bummed out about that. And then when he got killed, this dialogue just went crazy on the internet and on TV, on the news and everything. So, and I've been surprised at how many even celebrities, spoke up about it. Even one of our local residents, Elon Musk, that's building rockets right about 15 minutes from my house, tweeted a Harambe song on Twitter that went viral like crazy. So, and some other people, and maybe you'll get into that, athletes and other things have done little promotion things in the name of Harambe. But a lot of times, to me, it seems like it's a little bit more of self-promotion. So my hope is, because I do like zoos. Unfortunately, pretty much from my understanding, I'm not an expert. And I love going to our local zoo, I went there last year on Harambe's birthday, and I shot some video of some gorillas playing, a mother and a father and a couple little babies, and I mean it just brought back so many memories, and they look so peaceful and so well taken care of, and it's always been a big dream of me to go see the gorillas in the wild, and I have looked at some tours and, Rwanda, Uganda, that's just a big dream of mine. I'm not sure my wife is so excited about it, but I would like to do the big tourist travel thing. And I know, because I've seen some bloggers on YouTube that I follow, travel guys that are very influential. And even he went to one of those places to go see the gorillas. And yeah, you got to hike into the jungle with, the rangers there, and you got to track because they follow the families, and I'm just like, that is the coolest thing. And I know it's like about $1,000, but to me, it's worth $10,000, and I'm sitting there thinking, how can you actually help those gorillas there? I mean, the ecotourism or whatever you want to call it is partial example, but I'm trying to think of a way in the name of Harambe and working together so how we could have the zoos correspond with refuges around the world for like all endangered species. And I think it would be the goal of a lot of people maybe to return the animals to the wild. But for me, I really just enjoy observing them. And yeah, I could save up enough money and hop on a plane and go over there, and you spend $1,000 to spend 1 hour with them. But we do that at the zoo. You spend $10-12 going to the zoo, and you can spend a lot of time with them. But I just wish there was a way, and I do have lots of ideas. I'm really good at having ideas. That's what my wife says. But I'm not good at following through on a lot of them but I do think that there's probably a way where we could have maybe, especially in an area like where we live, the children every year, they all go to the zoo on a field trip. I mean, you're talking about thousands of kids. We're in a low socioeconomic area. The kids are on free lunch. And the only exposure they're going to get to see these kind of animals from Asia, Africa, is on an educational tour of the zoo and to observe. And I really do know that compassion and understanding comes out of awareness, and awareness comes out of the observation. So I think, some of the other people that over the years that have spent lots of time in the jungle observing gorillas in their natural habitat, seeing them with their families, they developed a lot of compassion for them. At the zoo, I'm not sure we're seeing them in their natural habitat. I know they try to dress it up as nice as possible, but I don't know, some kind of virtual, I mean, they got 3D cameras now, you just strap a Insta360 on the head of a ranger that's there observing the gorillas, and all of a sudden you're immersed. You got gorillas all around you, and you could still pay your $10, $12, $15 to go to the zoo, to an auditorium, to spend some time with the gorillas live. There's the article when I named baby Harambe before I became a silverback. What else do I got? Over the years as a counselor and a teacher, I got lots of gifts, anything to do with monkeys. These little boxes. I got thousands of stuffed animals, which I donated to the students when I retired. They would make little cards for me all the time. I used to do a presentation, and I would always take this bag into the classroom with all my stuff. So the kids really knew that I liked monkeys, and I named Harambe.
I can see that as who you are throughout the time. And so it just makes sense that you came up with the name Harambe, and it's one of those things where it just feels like, wow, this was meant to be, and it's really been incredible. Let's see. Okay. Oh, Molly says, why didn't they relocate him? Well, Molly, that's a good question. I think that Harambe, we're not sure if he was going to stay in Ohio or not. In a lot of the breeding programs, they will move the animals around based on genetics. And actually, that is a fascinating aspect of it. It's a very complicated, multifaceted kind of problem and Rubik's Cube that, I think people have been trying to solve in a positive fashion for a while. And it's something that we cover in the movie. So tease the movie a touch. Yeah, we do kind of go into that there. And we're hoping that the movie, the thing is when it comes to Harambe, it's very strong emotions. And, we want the movie to be a catapult to more conversations that lead to solutions, and we have very challenging questions we're asking about very traditional uses of zoos, exhibition and things. So we're really hoping that its first conversation gets everybody talking and brings everybody back together. Just, again, I just have to go back to what you said, Dan. I feel like there's really nothing more to say. Like, it was very beautiful. And I thank you for sharing that with us today, because that's food for thought. We can all leave this with. And
yeah, I think everybody, all sides involved, wants what's best for all wild animals,
exactly.
Maybe not so much hunters or poachers, but yeah, even to some extent, yes, they do too. So as long as we have an open mind and open heart and we talk to everybody, Harambe, one love, it's like, all sentient beings, we have basically the same needs. We want to love, we want to be loved, and we want to know that we matter. And that's it. And every little living being on this planet matters, especially to somebody. If you sit there and you look at, the coffee in my cup, somebody probably in Central America grew it. They harvested it by hand. Somebody tilled the soil. Somebody, a truck driver had to bring it here. It had to be refrigerated. It had to be in the store. There's a whole industry that came off this little coffee bean, and so we're all interdependent. We don't even know it. The rain that watered those coffee plants could have been, from the water in our backyard, kind of evaporated, went up, and we know that every time it gets to be hurricane season here. So, but it's amazing how humans, we are so interconnected, and it's not just on the internet, but at a vibrational frequency, I guess, if you want to get all foo-foo about it. But so are animals. I swear my dog can read my mind. So there's this energy thing there that's there. It's in the plants. It's in just walking barefoot in the grass. Just being in nature is so helpful. And if we can just kind of harness that for the good instead of, to me, some of the pop culture essential. There's some things that came out of Harambe's death that I still to this day don't understand. And I even had to Google a couple things yesterday that went viral, and I'm like, I don't understand it. Maybe I'm too old, but I don't get it. And I'm sure you're going to cover those memes and stuff, but I didn't even know what a meme was, and I'm like, all those images that I kept seeing, 2016, 2017, 2018, it was like, just went on and on and on and on, and I'm like, that's not the Harambe I know, it's like, so, I mean, like this one here.
There we go. Yeah, tell us the story about this. Or did you tell everybody? Or
yeah, a baseball player. My mind just went blank.
Is that Trevor Bauer?
Trevor Bauer. Yes, thank you. My nephews are big baseball fans, and he was playing for the Cincinnati Reds, and so they follow him on Twitter or something. So he put out a thing. He would make these custom designed shoes. Look, it's got dirt on it. And so he said, log into my profile or whatever and buy something from my store and be entered into a contest to win these shoes, these Harambe Rest in Peace special edition shoes. So my nephew entered that and said, hey, my Tio Dan's the one that named Harambe. I would like to win those or whatever. So at least he had a good heart to give, to award them to my nephew. So he has the other shoe. So they were just tickled about that, and I even have video of him pitching in the game, wearing the shoes and stuff. But I know he signed contracts for millions of dollars, and I think he plays in Japan now. Yeah, he's a big social media guy and marketing and all of that stuff. But I'm like, surely somebody with a name can help funnel some funds to Africa where we can help these gorillas,
Which brings us back to the name Harambe, right? Yeah. Only through unity are we going to find any form of, things are way too at a critical mass right now for, for things to continue as they were. And I do think that this consciousness changeover is really a Harambe type event that's happening very organically within the society. And hopefully it'll continue pushing, further and further. Jody Vernay, I hope I said your name right, Jody. If not, please let me know how to say it. I apologize. Jody has a great comment here. She says, yes, all sentient beings should be loved and respected. We should be concerned not only about wild animals, but those exploited in all ways for man's whims, food, fur, entertainment. Absolutely. If we didn't keep wild animals used for man's entertainment, the tragedy of Harambe would have never happened. And so, I think, Jody, that is a future that everybody would like to see.
I don't think, and the same for me when I was younger, and even when I was older, even when I named Harambe, I don't really thought I gave it much thought about the difference between, like, say, gorillas or animals in a zoo as opposed to the wild, And but then now I know that there is a difference from being a special ed teacher and a counselor and trying to define acceptable behavior for them to fit in society so they can be functioning adults someday, at least receive a valuable education that will open up their mind and their hearts, and they can go and some of them that reached out to me, they've done incredible things, and I don't know if Harambe had anything to do with that, but there's tons of potential in every sentient being. And if we just treated everybody, every animal, every plant, living, mineral, you name it, with a little bit of mutual respect, because Harambe, like one love, we all depend on each other.
Well, Dan, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
A beautiful story, very inspirational words. And it's a real honor to have you on today and get to talk to you.
Okay, thank you. Remember the word Harambe.
There we go. That's absolutely right. That it's not, it's the name that we have to remember. Dan talked a lot tonight about unity, love, compassion. These should be the starting points of all of our roads, that we are on together. And if we can bring that back into our equation, we're going to come out with a better answer in the end. And Dan really focuses on that and wants to promote that and wants to remind everybody always unity, compassion, love. And that is how we move forward. That's how we work together. That's what the name means. So, tell all your friends, Harambe, if they don't know, let them know. Let them know, because he's a pop icon, but he's much more than that. And we really got to see that today. Really inspirational to get to hear Dan and to really talk about that message. It's not just a name, it's word, sound, power. And like I said, love and compassion is the only thing we need to move forward.